Hey, guess what? Last Word Production also sell merch. Jackets, long sleeves, pick whatever you want. Look at the bio, click the link. So good morning, good afternoon to those who tuning into the show right now. As you all know, my name is Tavares Wilson and I always get the last word. Now guys, first and foremost, we're gonna jump right into it. What everyone wants to talk about right now, of course, we're all excited about it. First and foremost, the NBA playoffs, of course. Now, we had a couple game twos go on today, and we just gonna get off into some game one news that occurred the past couple days. So first and foremost, real big controversial call in the Wizards and the 76ers games about whether or not did Russell Westbrook step out of bounds when he has saved the ball and he had regathered himself. Listen, man, you watch the replay, you watch the game, you seen it fully through. The guy clearly didn't step out, man. The referees, it goes back to an earlier point I said in a later video that I made, an earlier video, that I made about James Harden when they literally didn't count it. This was still, he was still in Houston. They literally didn't count his dunk that he clearly made on instant replay. And they replayed it, reviewed it, and still didn't count it. At some point, man, referees in the NBA specifically, I'm not saying in the NFL, NHL, things of that nature, but NBA referees have to start being held accountable, man. Either whether it's fined, suspended, the game percentage pay, take something, man. It is too many egregious and ridiculous calls that are being missed or that are not being addressed, I should say. Is absolutely terrible, man. And I just think it cannot keep going on, man. It's literally making the differences in big games. I mean, the Russell Westbrook situation is just one thing that we've seen from the playoffs. Who knows what else will happen? And man, honestly, man, it's so bad that you had to see a good game, because it was a good game between them and the Sixers. It's so bad that you had to see that game be pretty much, set in stone because of a bad call by the referee as play and stoppage of play. Like, it's terrible to me. I hate when games end like that. The refs has to be started held more accountable, man. I know Russell Westbrook was extremely frustrated. I seen the look in his eyes, on the face, on the play, things of that nature. But at the end of the day, man, the refs has to be held accountable. At the end of the day, that's exactly what I got from that whole experience. It has been too many instances where the refs are sliding by because, they just like, you're not going to make every call. No, this is a reoccurring issue. The definition of insanity is literally doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. We gotta stop accepting the fact that these guys were going to make bad calls. They're making too many in key moments at that now. Something has to change. So outside of that, other big news that we had, the Utah Jazz lost their opener to the Memphis Grizzlies, which Dillon Brooks had a really good game, and Jazz All-Star guard and Donovan Mitchell, shooting guard, was not too pleased to not play in that game. I mean, he was cleared. He was all levels go. He was all hands locked and loaded, on hands on deck type energy, and they told him he couldn't play. And reports came out saying that he did not take that well at all. And I know he didn't take it well, especially seeing the fact that they lost. So I would expect to be seeing Donovan Mitchell tomorrow. I believe they play tomorrow, not the day after. What today is, yes, they should be playing tomorrow. So regardless, you should be seeing Donovan Mitchell in game two. If we don't see him, we might be hearing more disgruntled news coming out of Utah. Now, with that being said, you gotta give gotta give the Grizzlies their due. They played terrific against the number one seed Jazz, best record in the league. Without Devin Booker or not, not Devin Booker, without Donovan Mitchell or not, these guys went out there, they had an absolute dog fight. They won out, they clawed and scratched their way through and won and stole the game on the road. That is something extremely hard to do, especially in the playoffs. And then you got Dillon Brooks, man, 31 points. He had an absolute phenomenal game. I think he's one of the better two-way players in the league. I think his aggressiveness is a double-edged sword for him. I mean, it's good on one hand, but then he gets in foul trouble a lot. So he just has to find that kind of balance to know when to be aggressive and when not to be. That's the only thing about it. But other than that, man, the Grizzlies are young, they're hungry. And the Jazz play around the series, let this go to 7. Man, it's anyone's game at that point. But from there, we could go speak on into the Blazers and the Nuggets series. That's now tied 1-1. Blazers took the first game. Damian Lillard had an absolute phenomenal second game. He kind of fizzed out towards the end of the second game where they got slaughtered by the Nuggets. Man, they got beat by almost 20 points. And speaking of slaughters, the Miami Heat got absolutely obliterated their first game. I mean, not first game, their second game. The first game was close. It came down to a Chris Middleton game winner. You know, he made a terrific shot. It's the type of shot he made that, you know, off the dribble, step back, fadeaway jumper, mid-range. He just hit it. I mean, that's a shot. That's a shot you live with. There's nothing else to say. Like, you know, you live with that result. Because at the end of the day, you know, any other time, he misses that. Not to say he can't make it, but, you know, it's a difficult shot. He made it. But the next game, he absolutely got stomped, man. They lost by, I believe, 34 points, I believe. It was definitely a 30 number. But Jimmy Butler has to step up. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be honest with y'all. As you all know, if you've been listening to me as long as, you know, I've been making this podcast, you all know for a fact that I'm a Jimmy Butler guy. He's my guy. I love Jimmy Butler. I love his grit. I love where he comes from. I love his whole demeanor, the chip on his shoulder mentality. He fears no man, things of that nature. He has to be better, point blank, period, though. I mean, his numbers in the series thus far are atrocious. I mean, let's just look at the first game. The first game, he's 4 for 22 from the field. He made a big bucket down the end to basically almost force OT. To force OT, excuse me, because they did go to overtime. So he did make a big bucket at the end, but he's 4 for 22 from the field, 2 for 9 from 3. He's 7 for 10 from the line. He's a good free throw shooter, but that's still significantly below his free throw average at 70%. He's on the season, he was a guy that was an 86%er. So that's still significantly below your average. I mean, it's still good. You made out of 10 attempts, you made seven of your attempts. It's still good, but it's still not what you're used to seeing out of him. So then let's move on to the next game they had. The game 2, they got absolutely torn apart, ripped to shreds. Mind you, the first game he finished with 17 points. This game, 4 for 10. He took no threes this game, and he was 2 for 4 from the free throw line. So not only is he not making the shots, this tells me he's not being as aggressive as he usually is because he's not getting to the line. And he finished this game with 10 points. Your best player cannot come out day in and night out and total shoot under 40% both games, not edge out to 20 points and simply be outplayed by second or third scoring options on the other team. I mean, it just can't happen. I mean, Duncan Robinson was, in all honesty, man, if Duncan Robinson didn't have the game he had the first game, it probably wouldn't have been another blowout as well because he made timely threes. He came up big. He kept them in the game early and fast. So who knows what the first score could have been without Duncan Robinson having the flamethrower of that game. But yes, the Heat definitely have to find their groove back again, man. And another series we go into before I speak on the Lakers series, of course, because I know everyone speaks on the Lakers series. First and foremost, the two LA series, excuse me. First and foremost, the Hawks and the Knicks series. This is a series where I said would literally be the best series out of the entire playoffs. And the first game literally was the best game that I've seen thus far. Literally. I mean, game winner by Trey. You know, the F Trae Young chants going in the crowd, him silencing the crowd, saying it's real quiet in here. That's what you want. And you even had the mayor of New York going out and telling Trey that he needs to stop, playing for the whistle and stuff like that. It's going to be a great series, man. I definitely want to see it go to 7. I believe it will go to 7. This was a tough series to call for me and my predictions. If you haven't seen that yet, guys, y'all go check it out on my Instagram. My predictions are there for each series. But this was definitely the hardest series for me to call, man. It's gonna be a great one, man. Y'all stay locked and loaded in that one. It's gonna be a real good series. I'm telling you. I mean, it's nothing short of young talent on the court. You got Trey, you got John Collins, you got Clint Capella, who I think is the most underrated rim protector and big in our league. Then on the other side, you got Julius Randle, R.J. Barrett, you got Quickly, who I really, really like. And you all know I'm a D Rose guy. That's my guy. And I still want to see what Obi Toppin can become. He's not really a guy that's getting large minutes right now, but I do want to see him start to work his way in the rotation. I mean, he's a guy who I believe has all the talent in the world. He's a guy who can definitely get his way into the rotation. I mean, they have pretty solid bigs, but I mean, he's a guy who could be the power forward or the small forward. So I just feel as if he's someone who needs to work himself in that rotation. Now, with that being said, getting off into the next series, the LA Lakers, LeBron, Anthony Davis, two guys who didn't really have a strong showing the first game, came out. Anthony Davis finished the game, I believe, with 33 points. LeBron had, I believe, 23 points, 9 assists. AD, 7 assists. First game, actually, him and LeBron both had over 7+ assists in the game together. And they just played lights out, man. I mean, they made big plays down the stretch, big shots, made the right choices. They still, now what's crazy about this team is the fact that they're still trying to get a feel for one another because they had so many injuries throughout the season, and them going out to get a new guy in Andre Drummond. They're only going to get better as the playoffs go on. If they continuously get better and they reach that point where I believe they can be, they're going to be a tough out, man. It doesn't matter who they play. They're going to be a tough out. Now, with that being said, with the Suns, on the other hand, CP3 is doing exactly what CP3 always has done in the postseasons. He can stay healthy or he's not winning games. I mean, yes, they won their first game. It took a terrible game from Anthony Davis for you to pull off your first game. Not to discredit the Suns in any way, shape, or form. I think they're a great team. I think they're the second best team out west, if I'm being honest, behind the Lakers. But it took a bad game from AD. I mean, AD has an average AD game, let's say 20, 18 points. On a good shooter night, gets to the line a couple of times and 7, 8 rebounds. Maybe the ball, it goes different for the Lakers. Who knows? But it didn't look well the first night at all for them. They didn't play with that confidence or the swagger we seen. But, who knows? You never know. That being said, Chris Paul, man, it's what I just told my friend, man. Like, this injury-plagued postseason win percentage thing is going to be the biggest reason why Chris Paul would never work his way in that top 3 all-time point guard conversation, because he has the credentials to be there. I mean, he's one of the 6 guards in NBA history to have 10K assists. He has one of the best all-time assist turnover ratios ever. I mean, he went a stretch this year where he didn't have a turnover in, I believe, like 8 straight games. I mean, he's a wizard with the ball. He's always been a good scorer, always had a good reliable shot, a great leader, a great defender. The only knock on Chris Paul is the fact that he never has postseason success. I mean, he's only played in 1 conference final, and he got injured in that one. And it's a large dilemma around that time. It was, if he played, maybe the Rockets would go on, but he didn't play because why? He was hurt. He has to show that grit and that want to, man. And it's going to hurt his case to where he should be all-time ranked if he continuously finish his career on these short ends of the sticks because of his body, or because he can't play through this, or he can't win this game in this big moment. It's just going to continuously hurt him. Now, with that being said, guys, the one series that has been an absolute shocker thus far is the LA Clippers versus the Dallas Mavericks. Oh my goodness. Let me start by saying this. First of all, the LA Clippers should be ashamed of themselves. They literally just let 2 games in LA at their brand new smacking arena they got get away from them, and the Mavericks are absolutely tearing their defense apart. I'm talking about the Mavericks are shooting terrific, guys. Like it is, like let me tell you the exact numbers. In the first 2 games, game one, the Mavs shot 50% from the field. They shot 47% from the 3-point line. And you think like, well, it's no way possible that they'll up that next game or be better than that. Well, they did. The next game, they were 58% from the field and 53% from the 3-point line. Okay, you know they just hot. They're making shots. No, it's not just that. They're getting the looks they want. I mean, you're not just knocking down shots because you're making everything that's difficult. No, you're creating the space. You're getting the looks. You're finding the open guy, and you're setting guys up to shoot with rhythm versus handing them the ball and letting them dribble out 5-6 seconds on the clock. Dallas is playing great team ball right now. That's just what it is. They're a well-oiled machine right now. I think Rick Carlisle is by far day and night the better coach in this series. I always has thought that Ty Lue was a guy that's extremely overrated. I think LeBron has been the biggest reason why he still is like mentioned in coaches talk of why he's got this job now, because people believe he could quote unquote coach superstars. I don't believe that for 1 second. Not to take anything from Ty Lue, I think he's a good guy. He was a decent role player when he played, but I don't know. I don't see the whole defensive coach guru reputation he has, especially not this series, man. I mean, it is bad. I mean, a guy like Kawhi Leonard go out and gives you 40 points and you lose. Paul George has another pretty good game and you lose. I mean, you're down 2-0 in this series. You're about to be on the road in Dallas. It's not looking good at all for the Clippers right now, man. And it's if they can't pull out this next game, man, I think they'll be swept. I really think they'll be swept. I mean, to me this was a game they needed today, because it is hard to go on the road down 2-0, down 0-2, I should say, in their case, and pick up wins on the road, because now the crowd is already going to be behind them because they're coming in with such momentum. They're already playing with supreme confidence. It's gonna be hard, man. I mean, I don't think that shooting percentages will go up any higher than what it has. It definitely has peaked. So the Clippers should be fine in that department, but they definitely have to play better defense, man. They cannot continuously let Luka just play one-on-one. They have to get the ball out of his hand. They have to make other people beat them. You just have to. I mean, he's good at that as well, but I would much rather live with Kristaps Porzingis or Tim Hardaway beating me versus him. I would much rather live with that. If Kristaps and Tim Hardaway both go out there and just drop 35, 40 points on me, and Luka just finished the night with 18, 20 points, I'm fine with that. Because that means someone else had to beat us. I'm fine with that. Now, can they afford to lose at all, though? No. The Clippers cannot lose. They have to really they have to steal both games at home for them to still have a chance for me in this series. They have to steal both games on the road against the Mavs. And that's going to be tough, man. Because Dallas is a hell of a place to play in. Their fans are... It's going to be tough for the Clippers, man. And honestly, if they lose this series, Kawhi is as good as gone. I mean, I think he's already as good as gone, but he's definitely not even going to consider resigning with the Clippers. And with that being said, guys, we're going to get off into some more sports-related news, but we're going to transition into the NFL. So, as you all have probably seen by now, the talk of the hour has been Julio Jones. He's actually listed the 2 teams that is reportedly listed the 2 teams that he is the most intrigued to play for, and that would be the New England Patriots and the Tennessee Titans. First and foremost, I think it would be an absolute crime if the Ravens did not offer whatever they can to put together the best package offered to get Julio Jones. I think it would be a crime if they cannot make this happen for Lamar Jackson. It would be a travesty. Like, I think this would be the greatest what if offseason story we would have this offseason. Because, man, Julio Jones with the Ravens, man, I think would be absolutely deadly. I think he'll be absolutely deadly. I mean, I know guys want to question Lamar's accuracy and can he really drive the ball downfield, things like that to get him the ball. But you have a guy like that in Julio, man, all you got to do is get the ball in his facility. Like, that's all you got to do. If it's in range of him, he'll make the rest happen. I think it would be an absolute steal if the Ravens go get Julio Jones. I really do. I think they have to make that happen. But as you see on with Shannon Sharp, the dude, Julio Jones literally said, "Nah, I'm out of there." Like, that's literally what he said. Like, it's been reported he's requested a trade since March. He doesn't want to be there. I mean, it's just simple. To me, the Falcons already was at a point where they are moving on from him, because you've seen Russell Gage and you see Calvin really start to really come into their own. Now they just drafted Kyle Pitts, so they're definitely moving into a younger direction with their playmakers. They already had Hayden Hurst, the tight end that they signed from Baltimore. Young team. They got young playmakers. And I just think this is more of a bigger reason why they need to move on from Matt Ryan. I mean, let your young playmakers grow with a young distributor. I mean, it baffles me that some Falcons fans truly did not want to even give a look at Justin Fields. I'm like, man, like what else do people have to see from Matt Ryan to show that he's peaked? He got you to a bowl. He got an MVP season, but that's his peak. That's literally it. He's not going to ever get back to that point. He's not going to ever play at that level again. It literally took Kyle Shanahan, a really good defense, and really, really, really good playmakers to make that happen. Again, that's not happening again. Atlanta is a great city. It's beautiful, but no one wants to come play for Atlanta right now with the Falcons. That's not happening again. Matt Ryan is again younger. Julio just asked for a trade. You don't have the backfield that you had with Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman. Freeman, last I checked, he was with the Giants, and now he may be out the league. Now, Coleman, he's with the Niners. You know this. Let it go. Let it go. Build your team back up. You just signed your new HC. Give him someone new to work with. Don't give him Matt Ryan, who's has a couple seasons left in him, but he's not a guy who you want to help grow with your new head coach. To me, it's just that they have to take the chance, man, and let Matt Ryan go. And it doesn't seem as if that would be the case. I wish it would have been, but it's not. So, with that being said, I really truly believe the Ravens need to make a push for Julio Jones. Me, personally, if I was them, I'm definitely making a push for Julio Jones. Now, with that being said, a couple of other news about some big-name quarterbacks going around the league. Aaron Rodgers was absent from OTAs, of course. I mean, he's a guy who's requested a trade now. He said doesn't want to be any part of the Packers organization anymore. And interesting enough, he had not a report, but he was on the show and he basically said he loves Jordan Love. It's not about his pick at all. You know, he likes Jordan. So it just shows that it's really truly about the franchise and how they have mistreated him specifically. It's not about who they drafted or who they brought in. It's about what have you truly done to benefit me and my success for this team. I mean, yeah, it's not against Jordan Love, but still, that pick could have been used for someone else. Yeah, it's nothing against, Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith, but Preston Smith had a significant drop in production from the year prior. Zadarius Smith, yeah, still pretty solid, but our defense is still bottom in the barrel in the league. So how much better did they truly make us? I mean, it's just these are the questions you want to ask. I mean, It just, to me, it seems at this point he's just honestly fed up with it. He's like, you know what, screw it. Like, if you're not going to make it better and you're not even going to pay me anymore, why would I want to be here? And I completely agree. I've said for years the Packers organization is literally one of the biggest overrated organizations in sports. Period. The Packers literally had two generational talents at the quarterback position, most position in football. Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, and what they mustered out of that, two Super Bowls. You give the Patriots Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers for 10, 12 years. I guarantee you they get more than two Super Bowls out of those guys. 100% guaranteed. Give Andy Reid those guys, guarantee they get more than two Super Bowls. You even get those guys out of the team currently right now with the Rams right now, or the Miami with these young, good-minded coaches and good new GMs and good owners. They're going to produce more than just that because they know what it takes to run a well-oiled machine now. I mean, I know I'm speaking on a very small sample size, but just if you, for example, if you just look at the growth from the Rams from literally the day Sean McVay stepped into that office, it's night and day. The growth from the Dolphins from the day that Brian Flores literally stepped in that office, yeah, the first year was rough because, I mean, who'd you have? What talent? But from there, it was night and day. I mean, at some point, man, we just got to realize it, man. Just got to realize it. The Green Bay Packers are overrated. Overrated franchise, man. Don't bring in talent as much as they used to. Well, never really did, in my opinion. Can't coach people up. Don't really develop guys. Hey, gotta admit to it at one point. Now, the next QB I was referring to is Deshaun Watson, and he is absent from OTAs, and he's still looking to be traded as well. Yes, we all know now Deshaun Watson is involved in some other scandals outside of football, and we'll see how it all pans out for him. And it's real noted around the league that he will be looking at about a 4 to 6 game suspension because of everything that has happened. So whoever wants to trade for him will end up trading for him because I think he's really going to stand stern on not playing for the Houston Texans anymore. So whoever does end up trading for him will definitely have to eat that. And the fact that he won't be the fact that he won't be playing. So definitely an uphill battle to get Deshaun Watson, but at the end of the day, I believe it's worth it. I think he's 25 years old. He's the top 5 quarterback in this league. I say you go get him regardless. He's going to be playing for you for the next 10 years at the least. The next 10 years. Now, guys, we reached the end of our show where we all gonna do our guess who player segment again. So this guy, he's in the NBA right now, but it wasn't an easy road for him to get there. He actually was kicked out of his parents' home at the age of 13 years old. His mother literally told him, "I do not like the way you look. You gotta go." He got kicked out. He went to live with a friend that he met his senior year, and from there, he went to JUCO, junior college, played ball. Then from there, transferred over, went to play ball, got drafted late round pick, went to Chicago. After that, got traded to Minnesota, and now he is in Miami. So this is a guy who literally embraces the underdog role. He loves that about himself. He loves that he didn't ask anyone for anything or get handed anything or spoon-fed. He loves the work and he loves the grit and determination that he has and he has to play with. So who am I talking about? I mentioned him earlier. My guy, Jimmy Butler. I love Jimmy Butler's story, man. I think it's extremely, inspiring to hear a guy who's making $160 million now just absolutely come from such terrible situations, who literally shows you, hey man, listen, if I did this, you can do whatever. Because at the end of the day, I was told my entire life I wasn't going to do this. I was told my entire life I would never be at this point in my life, but I am. And it's because of those people who didn't believe in me. That's why I'm here. They drove me to be better. And that in his case, I even includes his own loved ones. So again, that is a beautiful thing, man. I think that's a beautiful story. I'm glad to see Jimmy Butler's where he at today, and it's honestly just something that's truly, truly inspiring. But again, guys, that's it for the show tonight, man. I want to thank y'all for tuning into the show once again. Y'all, please be sure to subscribe to the channel on YouTube at Last Word Productions. Make sure that you subscribe on Spotify, Apple Music, Google, Amazon Radio, TuneIn. I'm on multiple platforms when it comes to the podcast itself. And y'all check out some of the merch that I have on my website that y'all see posted right before it is you get off into the audio for the podcast. So thank you guys again for tuning in the show. I'll see y'all in the next one. Y'all have a great morning, great night.